Today we're going to talk about special triangles, and boy are they special, because there are only two types of special triangles. They're both right triangles. The first one we call a 30, 60, 90 because it has angle measures of 30 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. The second is also a right triangle, of course, but it's called a 45, 45, 90 because it has 45 degrees, and 90 degrees. When you hear about special triangles, it is only these two that count. Let's start with the 30, 60, 90. The reason they're special is because there's a certain proportion to the three sides. And these proportions come in handy, especially when we're talking about the unit circle. The shortest side will always be across from the smallest angle. So if you look to the opposite side from your 30-degree angle, that side will always be your shortest. We're going to call that side X. The hypotenuse is always twice the length of the shortest side. So the side opposite your hypotenuse, or the side opposite your 90-degree angle is always your hypotenuse, and it's always going to be twice the length of your short side. The medium side is going to be across from your 60-degree angle, and that is always going to be your short side multiplied by the square root of 3. We can use Pythagorean theorem to prove this because I could do a squared plus b squared equals c squared and show you why that is the square root of 3 times x. That proportion, those side length proportions make it fairly simple to find all three side lengths even when I only have one side length available. So let's say that my shortest side is 2 centimeters long. Remember how we said the hypotenuse is always double that? So that means that the hypotenuse is going to be 4 centimeters long. And my medium length side is going to be my short side multiplied by the square root of 3. So this medium length side is going to be 2 root 3 centimeters long. If I only have the hypotenuse length, I can use the proportion too. Really, I can do it with any of these, but let me show you what happens if I only have the hypotenuse length. Let's say my hypotenuse is 8 feet long. Since the hypotenuse is twice as long as the short side, that means my short side is 4 feet long. And to get that medium length side, take my short side, multiply it by the square root of 3. So I get 4 root 3 feet long for that medium length side. In the unit circle, the hypotenuse is always the radius, and that's going to be 1 unit long. So the short side needs to be half of that, or 1/2. The medium side, remember, is the shortest side multiplied by the square root of 3. So when I do 1/2 times the square root of 3, I'm going to put the square root of 3 over 1 so I can multiply them together. And I get square root of 3 over 2. That's going to be the length of my medium side. So baby bear, mama bear, papa bear, 1/2 square root of 3 over 2, and 1. That's going to be one of the triangles in my unit circle. Now let's take a quick look at the 45, 45, 90. In a 45, 45, 90, the two sides across from the 45-degree angles, these are the legs of my right triangle. they're always going to be equal to each other. Sides across from equal angles will be equal. I'm going to show you on this one how the Pythagorean theorem comes into play. So I get a squared plus b squared equals c squared. In this case, x squared plus x squared equals my hypotenuse squared. If I add x squared to x squared, I get 2x squared. If I square root both sides to take h squared to just h, the square root of 2 can't really be simplified, so I'm going to leave that as square root of 2. And the square root of x squared is just x. So I get x times the square root of 2. And that's going to be my hypotenuse length. So the hypotenuse on every 45, 45, 90 will be the leg length multiplied by the square root of 2. So let's say we know one leg is 4 inches long. That means the other leg is 4 inches long. That also means the hypotenuse is 4 root 2 inches long. Going the other direction provides us with a little bit of a challenge. Let me show you what happens. If the hypotenuse is a whole number like 1, this is what it's going to look like in the unit circle, right? We can go the other way and divide the hypotenuse by the square root of 2 to get the leg length. Now, this is why it presents a challenge for us. I can never, ever leave a square root in the denominator of a fraction. So we need to do something called rationalizing the fraction, or rationalizing the denominator, and we're going to do that by fixing this fraction so that it no longer has a square root in the denominator. Remember too, it's kind of like when we found common denominators, you had to multiply your fraction by 1, so you didn't change the fraction, but we changed the look of the fraction. So we could multiply it by 5 over 5, or 3 over 3, or whatever I needed to make it so that it had a common denominator. Well, this is kind of the same concept, but now I'm going to multiply by 1 disguised as the square root of 2 over square root of 2. What that does for me, when I multiply straight across the top, I just get square root of 2. In the denominator, however, the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is 2. So I no longer have a square root in my denominator, and this is an appropriate fraction. You can have square roots in the numerator, just not in the denominator. And that's going to give me my leg lengths. So my two legs are square root of 2 over 2. This is going to be one of the triangles in the unit circle. So just a quick summary, we're actually going to do an assignment on special triangles. You need to know the two types of triangles, and you need to know that on the 30, 60, 90, the shortest leg is x. The hypotenuse will be double that measure, so 2x. And the medium length side, or the mama bear side, is going to be your short leg multiplied by the square root of 3. On the 45, 45, 90, the two legs will be the same length. I'm going to call them y. And the hypotenuse is going to be the leg length multiplied by the square root of 2. Bring any questions that you have. We'll go over a few more examples and have you do an assignment practicing with the different side lengths of special triangles. Make sure to take the online quiz. Have a great day, and I'll see you later.